Yo, fam, it's time for a continuation of my ever popular Blue Review series. Yeah. Basically, today I'm going to be continuing with Halloween 2021 reviews. Today I'm going to dip into the recent films that I watched on streaming channels, and they were all ones I had never seen before, and all of them are more or less thematically appropriate for the Halloween season, horror or thriller or Halloween related. Um, so I'm going to start with a short film. It was only 45 minutes, called Skinned, from brand new film 2021. And do I remember the director? I'm trying to forget him actually after watching this movie. Sorry. Skinned is by Andre Borelli. And despite his name sounding Italian, he is uh, Brazilian. So uh, it's basically this one guy played by this actor, Pablo Diego Garcia. Never heard of him. He's a pretty homely guy, but he's kind of buff and ripped, slim on the slimmer part of ripped side rather than the bulky. And this is, uh, I'm emphasizing this because he's naked for long periods of time in this film, and his character is very narcissistic about his body, and he's an OCD guy. He obviously makes a lot of money, lives on his own, and he spends a lot of time cleaning because he's a clean freak, and also he's I could use him over here, and he's also uh, obsessed with, like I said, obsessed with his body himself, and he's often masturbating naked in a chair, watching porn at his computer, uh, and nothing is really left to the imagination there. Um, those scenes tend to have, I don't want to say long takes, but for a movie this short, they linger on these elements. So I guess they're trying to drive home uh, this guy and his, I guess, encroaching psychosis. Unlike characters like Joe Spinell played in Maniac, or Michael Rooker played in Henry Portrait of a Serial Killer, this guy is, or even Patrick Bateman played by uh, Christian Bale, though he wasn't a total loner misanthrope, but he was a well off, murderous bastard. This guy is kind of a semi well off murderous bastard, but he seems to be keeping it at bay, and sublimating his, urges to do violence through just constant masturbation and obsession with his own body. He meets a shopkeeper, a very lovely red haired woman, a ginger, complex woman, and he's really weird around her and shy. I can relate to that, and she is very beautiful. And then uh, he finally has a little confidence. They go out, and she seems to be trying to draw him out of his shell, and really just having normal, like, get to know you conversation. He's not, it's not connecting with him. Finally, for whatever reason, she uh, takes a liking to him, and then they have frantic sex. And he periodically has these dreams. The dreams are sometimes in black and white, whereas the main part of the film is in color. And sometimes they switch it up on you. And the black and white is probably like the length of the movie. Things to make an inexpensive film. Now it's very well shot, I gotta say. That's really what kept me watching it. That and the redheaded woman. I thought, well, okay, there's gonna be an angle to this. Anyway, he wakes up after his black and white dream, and she's in bed, but she's naked, and has been kind of gnawed on a little. It's nothing gross or blatant. Just looks like she's been bitten, and there's blood on her, but it's not like over the top. So he seems like he's kind of flipping out at first, and he cleans everything up and disposes of her body, but it really feels more like he's flipping out because it could have made a mess in his immaculate apartment. it doesn't really seem like he gave a damn about this woman, but it does give him, I guess, the confidence to start hitting on women. And but the end game is always, you know, they fuck, which is pretty graphic. And then he has a dream, and then he wakes up, and they're dead, totally naked. And with each one, there's a little more blood, a little more gouges, until the last one, it looks like he's, just bitten chunks out of her shoulder. Uh, and he's kind of going a little. He's mad, more than a little mad, and you know. But I didn't sympathize with this guy. I felt his antics were pointless. I don't know. It just seemed banal. Um, and then he gets like a vision, dream, whatever, from the red-haired lady, and these characters really don't have names that I can discern. And meanwhile, we're cutting to him cooking and stuff, cooking meat. It looks kind of like chicken. You probably know what's coming, especially with the title of the movie, Skinned. There's no skinning actually shown in this movie, by the way. But anyway, in the dream vision, whatever she says to him, I hope I tasted good, or you know, something to that effect. And then he's eating this now fully fried basted piece of, I guess, her. Um, and that's it. I mean, it didn't really have anything else to it. So that was a bomb. But at least it was short, not very sweet, short, sour, and not ugly to look at. The actor was, but the look of the movie was nice to look at. The young lady was nice to look at, but yeah. Anyway, so the next one, I just wanted to throw that in there because I'm trying to cover as many that I've watched as possible, but there's a bunch I'm not going to get to. And since that one was short, and let's be fair, I can't like or love all of these films. So let's move on, shall we? Um, let's move on to *Malignant*. That'll probably be the headline, in the title of this video, and possibly the graphic, since it's obviously the most well known. So I need to get more clicks, so maybe that'll help. But in any case, I'm not going to do it last as like the headliner, and I'm not doing first as in taking preference. I'm just going to do these in the order how I kind of feel like. *Malignant*, was a HBO Max film shown concurrently with a limited theatrical release. And it was a cast that I was largely unfamiliar with. So I am going to toss in my usual cheat notes from time to time, much as I hate to do so. This movie, a lot of people that I knew wanted to see it. It had quite a buzz. And the trailers were kind of touting it as this, a new frontier in terror. That might not be what they said exactly, but we've heard this before in many, many trailers for many, many years. But this is it, damn it. No, I'm kidding. So it was directed by James Wan, whose material I personally do find rather Wan, and WAN Wan. And the first Saw I think was okay. The ones not directed by him, the subsequent ones were improvements. And yeah, Aquaman was Aquaman. And The Conjuring and all that. So can't say I'm a James Wan fan. He did executive or co-produce the Swamp Thing TV series, which was good and solid. It wasn't as good as the other two DC Universe series when that was going, that platform, Doom Patrol and Titans. And so, they made the leap over to HBO Max, and Swamp Thing just got canceled. So he didn't ruin Swamp Thing. At least that's good. This movie, I think he really wanted to kind of experiment visually and just kind of fuck with people's minds. And it works in those ways. It has kind of little weird clues here and there and red herrings. or what have you. But basically, the main character, played by an actress I had never heard of named Annabelle Wallace, she plays the character named Madison, who's adopted. Her birth name is Emily, and she doesn't remember the first 8 years of her life. She just remembers her adopted parents, who later had a biological daughter of their own, um, and they're like sisters. Though there's always been this, since she found out she was adopted. Maddie has yearned for a blood connection with somebody. So be careful what you wish for. So she doesn't know who her real parents are or anything going on with her background. Um, and the thing is, it sets you up to where uh, the first thing that seems to be a major plot point is that she keeps having miscarriages, and that she's living with this kind of abusive asshole guy, and she's pregnant again, and he like pushes her and shoves her into the wall, and her back of her head smashes into it to where the plaster's coming out, and I was like, oh my god. And then he's found dead the next day, gruesomely murdered. Um, she loses the baby, and she periodically starts bleeding from the wound on her neck, even after it's been fixed up. All of these are important clues. I mean, more important than you might think watching this. So, you know, they start an investigation. The police. There's a lot of this police procedural stuff with these kind of quirky characters with their, uh, smart ass dialogue between them. All of which are hallmarks of some of his other films, especially Saw. Um, the main guy here is a guy named Kyoka. I don't know the actor, but he's our hero, I guess. I think he has a partner, and I can't remember her name, but she's like an older black lady, very cynical, smart ass. She's kind of almost the comic relief in the film. But most of this film is played pretty straight, but some of it is so surreal in a way that I really feel like it's just kind of a mind fuck. And a lot of people are responding to it in that fashion and love it for that. I didn't hook to it that way until the ending. And then it got so over the top that I started to kind of enjoy where he was going. But by that time, by the third act, I had figured out before it was blatant what the story was. Um, I hate it when I do that, when I kind of think this maybe means this or this probably means that, and I'm correct. In this case, murders continue to ensue, and when the murders ensue, Maddie kind of like psychically shifts to where she herself is witnessing the murders, which she's there. And so there's a psychic angle, which of course the cynical cop she completely dismisses and uh, casts aspersions on Maddie's sanity. And the murders that are happening do have a link, and they're all these older people who were affiliated with this mental hospital, this clinic, different kinds of doctors, and you eventually find that um, they had worked on a case much earlier, which did involve young Maddie, her name Emily, and it preceded her adoption. And she blanked all this out, or well, not exactly blanked, kind of blanked it out, kind of it was surgically removed, I guess, maybe not on purpose, because they performed an operation on her. The movie opens with this crazy creature named Gabriel, who you just barely see, but you also see his feet, and he looks like little girl's feet with socks. And then he can project his. He can't really speak per se, but he can project his voice through like radios and things. And he has this psychokinetic ability to control, electricity and radio frequencies, magnetic frequencies, and so he can turn the lights on and off, turn the radio on and off, cause the electricity to overload. Um, speak through, people's answering machines or whatever. Uh, so he's a powerful guy, but apparently they did something to him. Uh, and, he starts, the detective Kyoka finds him at one point, and he's got like a really fucked up, deformed face. And he wears a trench coat, and he's very, how do we put it? Pliable. He's very, not ambidextrous is the word. That word I can't think of. Basically, he can like turn his limbs like all the way around, um, and he's very lithe, and he jumps around and crawls around, and he's a lot stronger than a normal human. And even though there's this big chase, at one point when they're visiting, and the Gabriel creature gets away, even at that, um, you've had this kind of off plot where Gabriel has had this woman captured, and tortured, and then suddenly she falls out of the roof, the floor falls in, and she lands in the living room of Madison, her sister, Kyoka, and the other cop. So it's like, what the hell? Did she go to another dimension? No, he's been in her basement the whole time. That's what. So these scenes all took place in the same house. We just weren't privy to that. We thought this was his like hideout somewhere. They hinted that it was in the Seattle underground city, which is where the woman he kidnapped lived. Lived. I'm sorry. The one he kidnapped worked, and he grabbed her one night from there. And I thought he just set up shop in some little corner of the underground city. But he took her to the attic of Maddie's house. And somehow this escaped Maddie's notice, and none of the noises or anything. And so the cops are like, well, obviously Maddie's the one who did it. I mean, come on. So they arrest her. And as time goes on, the younger sister, the adopted sister, who really loves Maddie a lot, she's like a young aspiring actress. She starts doing research, and they finally figure out uh, where Maddie was adopted from, and of course, it's like this giant, like cathedral slash castle like place right on the edge of the water. I guess like New England Gothic, and the girl goes by herself, and she gets to the records and basically realizes that, yeah, Emily was there. Her mom gave birth to her there. Her mom was 15 at the time, couldn't take care of the kids, was grossed out by one of the twins named Gabriel. She said he was a monster. And they kind of like shuffle her off, and Maddie goes to her new family. And, throughout we've seen some flashbacks of her as a young person, and we've seen Gabriel talking to her through like Fisher Price camera and what things. And of course, the parents think she's making it up all along. Gabriel will do stuff to get her in trouble. Apparently, he followed her from the asylum, but she didn't remember him and all these incidences by the time she's the adult Madison that we meet in the beginning of the movie. So all of this interrogation and seeing all these clues and evidence, it kind of opens up her memory, and she remembers all these incidences, and uh, we're still not sure how they're connected. I mean, were they twins, that were born at the same time? Does he have a body? Is he detached from her body? And I started immediately thinking that element, and the fact that they were one by one killing the doctors that were involved with the birth. I mean, not the birth, but the operation at the beginning, and Emily leaving the hospital, made me think of Basket Case. And it turned out I was pretty on the money. By the end of the movie, we learn that he is a conjoined twin. He's a parasitic twin. So neither of them can live separated. But he's on her back. Actually, he's in her head. They show his body when he's part of her. And that was pretty cool. I mean, the way the reveal, some kind of reveal like this of him was coming, him as younger version, and they do this kind of camera swing all the way around. You see her back, and his face is on the back of her head, back of her skull, and it's making sounds, and he's got these little arms and this rib cage. And there have been parasitic twins born like this before. I'm not sure that they had psychokinetic power over electricity, but um, the it was pretty gross and a pretty cool reveal. The makeup was interesting, and then they surgically remove her. And again, it's kind of like basket case. They decided to surgically remove Gabriel from Maddie, and or not back then Emily, and they scrap his body, and what's left is like kind of like a little mushed up face, and the part of his brain that is kind of attached to the back of Maddie's brain. They kind of share a brain more or less, and they kind of like push his face back in and um, uh, you know seal her skull and so forth. So, um, but the ultimate revelation is that Maddie is that they're still connected. That because I always wondered what the significance was of her hitting the wall when her boyfriend hit her, and the fact she kept bleeding periodically. So that was significant. That's the moment that the skull cracked and his little face started to pop up, and it would hide under her long hair, and then it would like take over her body. So she was committing the murders, but Gabriel was in charge. And the reason she was watching them is because she was kind of in his mind, seeing what he was seeing, what he was doing with her body. And the reason he was, again, not ambidextrous, but that other word I can't think of, um, was because he was backwards. So, and he had a trench coat and the long hair. So basically, he would pull her hair back to cover her face, and you'd see his face. That'd be the back of her. And then you'd see like the trench coat put on the back of her backwards, and her arms would be like this. And so sometimes she'd be like walking backwards and jumping backwards. That's when it gets really out of control. Is when uh, they show her changing with Gabriel taking control, and that's when she's in the jail for committing these murders. And there's all these really hardcore female convicts. It's like a woman in prison movie. And of course, several of them are trying to have sexual advances with her or kick her ass. And she just starts changing, and they're freaking out. But it doesn't stop with there. I mean, she just starts annihilating them in all kinds of creative fashion. Gets out, does the same thing to the entire police department. So there's long, protracted sequences with this just amazing spinning camera work. I got to say, whoever did the storyboards, whether they drew them or not, but I obviously set them up in the computer. Maybe they did pre-visualization. Uh, they did an incredible job. So these action slash gore set pieces are just amazing, and the way the body can move, her body can move, and she's like, you see both sides of her, and it's flawless. Um, Good CGI, great makeup, great gore, and inventive, almost sometimes funny, sometimes disgusting ways of killing people. Because she's created this, well, as Gabriel, had created this blade that was made from the remains of a trophy that had been won by one of the doctors who had done this to her. Same doctor who we saw in the very beginning, saying, we're gonna put an end to this. Um, And yeah, after that, there's really no place to go. No, I'm kidding. She injures Kyoka. She, injures the other cop. And she goes to find the woman that was living in the attic, who she had captive at the hospital. And they have learned that that's actually her biological mother. So the actress isn't much older than the one playing Maddie, because she was only 15 when she had the kid. And then it kind of gets, the sisters trying to come save them, and uh, you know, Maddie's, just ferocious, or I'm sorry, Gabriel, whatever, and he's gonna kill the mother, her mother, and especially wants to kill the younger sister. I think her name was Sydney. Sydney Lake. She had kind of a very movie starish name. Um, and we think she does kill both of them. Uh, but it turns out she's tricked Gabriel because she's been so horrified by what's happened and I guess triggered by it to try to take over her own body again. And I kind of figured that I was going to come, and the sister's like, "Fight him, Maddie." You've seen all this before, um, but visually it was cool. And basically, they switched places to where Maddie became the dominant body, and made Gabriel see what she wanted him to see, which was that he'd killed them and he hadn't. Because earlier, you know, it turns out the times when he's stalking around as Gabriel on the way to killing these people, um, he's making her see that he's making her believe she's just having an average, you know, life, cooking, cleaning, sleeping, but a lot of his stalking around as Gabriel. So there's enough of that illusion that she believes is her reality, to where she doesn't suspect she's Gabriel. And like I said, she sees the murders, but chalks it up like a psychic thing. But obviously, she's actually there, and that's why she observes them. Even though I guess you know she has eyes in the back of his head in that case and can see them. Um, so yeah, it has a happy ending. But who knows what's gonna happen? Gabriel's trapped inside her mind forever. So the story, the mystery was fun. It was entertaining. It's really the effects, excuse me, and the set pieces and things like that that were lively. It kept moving at a good clip. I think visually it's more inventive than his other films. Uh, I think he wanted to create a new kind of creature, and it's not. I mean, the conjoined twins, parasitic twin thing's been done before. A lot of things in this have been done quite a bit before, sometimes by James Wan himself. But I like the look of it, and I can't really say the acting was fantastic, especially the main character, Maddie Hearst. It was okay. Uh, the young, the younger girl who played her sister was pretty good. Um, the cops were good. Uh, it's like if you liked Saw or you liked his movies in general, or those kind of modern horror movies, uh, then I definitely would recommend it. And it's supposed to be like that stuff taken to another level. I don't really think so in most ways, but yes, some of the set pieces and the whole physicality of it with the parasitic twin and her having two sides and her bones cracking and twisting around and flipping through the air sideways and slicing people to pieces. That's incredibly kinetic. So yeah, I think that is taking one aspect of it visually slash cinematically to another level. So it's worth seeing. Anyway, it was pulled from HBO Max the day after I saw it. A friend of mine saw it in the theater. Um, so it didn't have a very long run for some reason. So what's the last movie I saw? It wouldn't really be like the greatest of these three movies, of three movies I'm reviewing normally. But considering how kind of Malignant is kind of, to be expected, I'm going to review it. It's going to be the main center of attention. I've been meaning to review it for couple of weeks, and then the other movie just was crap. This one is an indie film. I'm going to give you a tiny bit of info. There's not a lot of info to give, um, but that's okay because to me the work itself makes up for that. It's a 2013 film called Sheepskin, directed by Kurtis Spieler, and the the tag is "Would you kill a man to kill a monster?" And the sum up on Letterboxd is a group of punk rockers kidnap a businessman because they believe he is a werewolf. Uh, there's not a lot of emphasis on them being punk rockers. I mean, it's just really more their fashion stuff, but that was cool. I mean, they're definitely a part of a subculture. There's just four of them, and they do indeed kidnap the main character. And They believe that he killed the leader of the punks. They believe that the man killed his sister in this extremely brutal and grotesque fashion. Um, and uh, you know, the thing is, this gets the brother to thinking an animal could have done it, or maybe this guy did it, because the guy was having an affair with his sister. And he was in the same sitting on a business trip when another woman was similarly killed. Now, his girlfriend, the leader of our punks, his girlfriend Dylan, she's really pushing him to kill the guy, kill him before he turns into a werewolf, because they've got him captured, they've got him tied up, and they're beating him up, and it's a full moon coming, and kind of the weak link. Well, there's another guy in the group who's kind of willing to kill. He's kind of a super tough guy. Um, and the other guy's kind of a squeamish dude. He's kind of more of a kind of rave slash grunge head kid. He's kind of dorky. He kind of reminds me of one of those friends of Jesse in Breaking Bad, with had the big toboggan on. So he has a similar kind of beanie on. Uh, but the thing is, it's well done. I mean, a lot of this is driven by dialogue and story, and the acting is really good, especially the guy who's captured the businessman. He's good too, but the main guy is great, and the girlfriend Dylan, she's convincing and she's attractive and kind of charismatic, and you really feel an affection between those two characters, which that was nice. They're not like bickering gratuitously just to have conflict. And even the arguments they have with the more sadistic of them, they think through what their plans are. I mean, it's interesting. They've like thought all this through, like every angle and what could go wrong, and how could this be possible, and how can they test this guy? And of course, they beat him up a bit, and he won't admit it. And then they're finally like, maybe you don't know you're a werewolf. Maybe you have blanked out, but you still did these things. And the younger kind of slacker kid, he doesn't really believe it, um, and he's kind of trying to see some opportunities to get away from all this, and definitely doesn't want himself incriminated. He's wiping his fingerprints off everything. They're holed up in kind of a warehouse, where they were practicing, and so basically, his wife, our main businessman, main character, uh, his wife, who we'd already seen earlier, was they had a contentious relationship at the very beginning. She has finally figured out where he's gone on these nights that he kind of sneaks away. But this is just where he happens to have gone. It's not where he was gone to have an affair with the dead woman. Um, so she finds the warehouse and finds him, and uh, yeah, I mean, the slacker guy wants to let her go. There's a back and forth in the group about who wants to let her go, and the consensus generally is that if when the full moon's all the way here and he turns into the werewolf, then the wife will believe them and side with them and agree that the cops would never believe this, and she would be okay with them killing her husband in werewolf form, and then they would let her go, and it'd be all their secrets, and it'd be done with. Uh, and it's justified. In other words, this whole vendetta against the werewolf is justified. The trick is he really a werewolf? I mean, or is this just something this guy's come to? The guy is not crazy. He's just like, what else could the answer be? And so they test him out, in different ways, like put silver bullets up to his head and up to a wound, and basically there's no indication that he's a werewolf from the old wives' tales tests. And so they're getting to the point where, what are we going to do? I mean, we can't let him go now. And he's like pleading with uh, various members of the group that he sees cornered, like the slacker kid. And it's like, come on, man, just let me go. I won't tell anybody. And but the wife is captured, spying on them. And so he's like, "What are you doing here?" to his wife, and she said she finally found him and tracked him down, and they force him to admit to her that yes, he has been having an affair, but it's with this guy's sister, and she's dead, and they think he killed her, but he didn't. And the wife's like, "Well, he is an asshole, but he's not a murderer." Um, and then, of course, the husband's telling them, "Please don't kill my wife. Kill me. Let her go." And the leader of this band, he keeps conferring back and forth with his kind of crazy buddy and with his girlfriend. And finally, um, they are um, the slacker guy, I think, frees her. I believe that's what happens. He frees her, and or maybe she gets free. I can't remember because he lets her go at one point, and they rope her up. But she starts getting away, and then the more violent guy of the group, who's more of the kind of hardcore dude, uh, he gets frustrated and pissed off, and he shoots and kills the wife. And then he beats the slacker kid to death, smashing him in the face repeatedly with his gun, I think. And so he's gone psycho. So now what's going to happen? So they're pretty pissed at him, and the husband's freaking out. And uh, then they realize the slacker guy isn't dead. So they're like, let's take him to the hospital. And so our main guy, not the werewolf, alleged werewolf. Um, I wish I could remember this character's name, but Dylan's boyfriend, he almost convinces Dylan to ride their buddy to the hospital and save his life, and he will take care of the dude, whatever happens. I mean, by this time, there's been a full moon. It had just come, and that's one reason everything went kind of chaotic because they were all kind of consumed with seeing that it's come and he hasn't changed, and maybe they're probably all wrong, so they might as well figure out a way how they're going to get out of this fucking mess. And well, basically they don't really get a chance to do much because um, as their buddy who killed the wife and beat up the other buddy, as he starts to yell at them that the guy's acting crazy, going into paroxysms, freaking out, breaks his bonds. And then you hear growling, and then you kind of realize, okay, well, so he is a werewolf. It was just a little delayed reaction with the full moon, and maybe he didn't know about the murders, but so he starts stalking them, the three, and well, four, I don't know, stalking the band, and eventually comes down to our main guy's got 6 silver bullets, and the werewolf takes out the guy who killed his wife, uh, chews up Dylan, uh, and attacks our man. And he holds his own. He shoots the werewolf a couple of times. Uh, the werewolf falls, and then he shoots his friend, so his friend in the heart, so his friend won't come back as a werewolf. That's kind of cool. You know how they'll like shoot the dead people in the zombie movies in the head so they won't come back as zombies, like in Dawn of the Dead. Roger's like, I'm gonna try not to come back, and Peter shoots him. And so it's kind of like that mercy killing. So he does that to his buddy, and then he really hates to have to do this, but he does it to his girlfriend Dylan. um, and by this time he's bleeding a lot. It's like, how the hell is he going to get out of this? I was hoping he'd get out of it somehow, but our dude, the businessman that they kidnapped, he's laying on the ground with these 2 wounds through him, bullet holes. So that did kill him, and he reverted back to human. So this guy is just, oh my god. He thinks he has 1 bullet left. I was trying to count the bullets, and I thought I counted them correctly, but then it seemed like he was going to use one on himself and put it to his heart, and he fires and it's empty, and he's like, fuck, and that's the end. which was kind of funny but silly. But I thought I'd counted six, having been discharged, and I was correct. But anyway, I like the way this was done. I mean, they made a lot out of the one setting, the warehouse setting. Action and back and forth was staged well. The acting was really good. The mystery was, compelling. They examined every angle of it. And there's humor, and there's violence, and there's a little drama, action, and the band was likable. They weren't horrible, evil people. I mean, the girlfriend was a bit bloodthirsty, but she toward the end is like, your sister was like my best friend, like my sister, and I want the guy to die. And each of them has a slightly different slant on this. Uh, in a way, it really off the wall way. It reminded me of Green Room, where you had a band and they're locked in this room and they're all trying to deal with these skinheads and the fact that one of them's been direly injured. These Nazi skinhead maniacs, and it wasn't plot wise like that, but just reminded me of that, the four-person band in the one location for a while. Though in Green Room they had a bigger budget, they go other places, but this worked with the warehouse and the small cast. And there were some red herrings. Like there's a point where the wife agrees with them that if he turns into a werewolf, she'll be okay with killing them and keep the secret. And I think maybe someone lets her go. Yeah, she doesn't get out of her bonds. I want to say the slacker dude unties her. Um, she does get free, and she starts running, and that's when the one guy just blows her away and shoots her in the back again. And but the way she was reacting to some of the things, I started thinking with the full moon almost there at that time those scenes were happening, I thought maybe she's the werewolf and she's just fucking with them, stalling, and she's going to turn into a werewolf and kill all of them, and that she had followed the husband before to the rendezvous and killed the woman. But that would contradict her apparently not knowing about it. But you never know. And maybe she had gone with him to the other city where the other girl was killed. But that was a red herring. So, sheepskin, it was a pleasant surprise. It was fun. Um, so that was nice. I wanted to start getting into the werewolf groove because of the big classic monsters, werewolves, vampires, Frankenstein, etc., mummies, whatever. Werewolves are my personal favorite. So that's it. Just want to get some of these out of the way. And next time I'll either talk about some more streamed movies or more likely I'll talk about some classics I've been watching on DVD and give you my take on those. So thank you for listening. Talk to you soon.